Hey everybody, welcome back to the Fuller Homestead. My name's Brian. We are out here at the rabbitry, which we affectionately call Rabbit Island. Now, the way that we've got our rabbitry set up is fairly simple. It's kind of in an L shape. Over here on the backside, we have our buck bungalow, and that's where we have our two bucks, currently Bucky and Junior. And then we have our does that are in these 4 cages right here. All of them have kits in there right now. And then we have 3 hutches that have all of our grow outs. We occasionally will use rabbit tractors as well along some of our grassy areas, depending on how many kits. But we need to do some repairs on our solar system. We need to upgrade a few of the cages so that they've got fans. And then we're also going to upgrade our system to have a timed misting system. So that's the program today. Hope you guys enjoy. So as I was mentioning, we currently have a solar setup using this 100-watt solar panel. We run the wires from that through the trees to the back of one of the grow out hutches. And on there, we have a transformer, we have a small battery, and then we have a light switch that we have wired on there that just turns the whole system on and turns the whole system off. We didn't put switches on each individual hutch just because we wanted to make it simple for you. Someone could come out and turn the switch on and then the whole thing is lit up. So what we need to do today though is that one of the hutches was built later and I did not wire it with the original one. So we are going to wire some new ones on. We also need to help repair some of the wiring that got damaged over the winter and is not allowing 2 of the fans to run currently. What I have laid out here on the table are some of the things we're going to be using today for this project. I bought these terminal blocks off of Amazon. This is the UPC code and the part number if you wanted to pause and take a look at that. Comes with 6 different blocks. It comes with a larger block that we're not going to use, a set of larger blocks, a set of medium blocks, and then the small ones, which we will use, because all we're going to need to do is to tie in to the red wire and the black wire on the other side, run it into this block on the red, run it in this block on the black, and then go out with our 1, 2, 3 fans to each of those fans. So that's what we'll take there, wire those up in a second. Now, the next thing that we're going to show you are the fans that we use. Go ahead and take them out of the block. We don't use the cages. We just use the fans, get them in a pack of 2. And I'll do kind of the same thing, show you these are the fans that we're using. You can pause the video and see it there. It looks like pano mounts. There's a model number. Anyway, we're gonna cut this little clip off and then wire it directly. I mentioned the red and black wire. This is the last of really the red. I've got little remnants of it. It's probably maybe a 14 gauge wire. It feels pretty thin. I'm going to work with what I've got. I have this 10 stranded. It was on clearance at Lowe's for, I literally like 35 bucks for 500 feet. All right, so the first thing we're gonna do to connect these blocks so that they're all kind of doing the same thing here is we're gonna loosen these screws on the top plate. And while I'm thinking about it, a shout out to the Rabbitry Center, Bobby at the Rabbitry Center. All of this, I don't know if knowledge is the right word because I still need to learn a lot, but all of the things that I have learned about the solar system for these rabbits is from him and his channel. So if you haven't checked them out and you're raising meat rabbits, I would definitely recommend it. He's got some great courses that you can use that are for sale. He's got great products, teaches you all kinds of things for even free just on his YouTube channel. So highly recommend him. All right, we're gonna tighten this up. And now that block is set, we'll do the same thing on the black one and get back with you. All right, so a little bit of a change of mind and plan. So I've decided that this 10 gauge wire is just way too thick. I also found this 18 gauge speaker wire. So I think what we're gonna do is I will take the 18 gauge and I will run it, since I've got a lot, we'll just split this apart so that I've got 2 separate ones here. Now I do have a little bit of concern about the weather resistance of this coating because it is speaker wire. It's not designed to be outside, but I believe that for our purposes, since the majority of it is actually going to be underneath a hutch or at least underneath an overhang on a roof, it won't be that bad. All right, not a lot of room back here, but we're gonna do our best, set that up. Try to get it to go in as straight as I can because these recessed screws will go in that hole. There we go. My goal is to try to get it high enough to where this is a 3/4 inch OSB, I think, and it will, the screw will definitely go through. It's probably sticking out 1/4 inch, but it's high enough to where it won't be able to impact the rabbits. Besides, there is a space of about, I don't know, 3/4 inch between the back of this wall and their cage, so they're safe from being poked by it. All right, there's one. Brought about 12 feet of the speaker wire out here with me. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to tie in to the red wire that goes from the switch also to the charge controller, and we're going to pull it out to the other side. And then we're going to take the other one and wire it in to the black one. So there's the current setup. We're going to go ahead and take this terminal off, and then we'll wire the new one in. We're going to take our 2 wires, we're going to pull them over to this hutch. I've got some little fasteners that we can do that with to keep them up off the ground, and yeah, we'll run them over there and wire them into the block. Sorry for switching angles on you. We're going to take this red wire, we're going to put it into the first spot on this block here. All right, because I'm going to pull all of the wires up under through this and nail this down, I'm going to go ahead and test with the fan to make sure that I've got power. So I've got my fan here. I've already stripped the wires on this end. So I'm going to go ahead and separate those. I'm going to touch them to the red and the black. And I believe I turned the system back on. I did. And there we go. So we have power. We'll set this up so they can get some air here, and I'll finish setting up all of the others, and then we'll move on to the next project in the project cool down at the rabbitry. All right, so we've got all 3 fans hooked up now. They're all hung on the doors, so we had to leave a little bit of slack so we could open the doors. You'll notice that the fans currently are going off and on periodically, and that's because it's a little bit overcast right now and the battery hasn't had a chance to fully charge, so it's not getting the sun that it needs to run. These 2 that are not running right now, I've got to figure out exactly why. My son came out and was helping me set this up for the summer. I say help me, he did it on his own while I was at work, but he said there was some corrosion on a few of the wires, so we've got to figure that out and potentially run some new wire, which means we'll use more of that speaker cable. All right, so looking at some of the wiring in the front here, I'm gonna probably just redo this. Turns out just this cage needed new wiring. The other one was fine, just straightened it up, but both of these fans are currently running when the solar allows it to, and every fan in our rabbitry right now is wired up and good to go. It is now on to Operation Mister for the second part of this cool down thing. Several years ago when we started our rabbitry, we relied heavily on a misting system to keep our rabbits cool. Now we would still do like frozen water bottles and things like that inside the cages so they could kind of get close to it. When we were doing the misting system, we started reading where people didn't like that at all. In fact, they were very concerned that the rabbit's fur could get matted down with all of the water that was going into their cages, and it would actually trap heat rather than allow heat to escape. And I could understand that if we were dousing them, if it was, you know, I don't know, 30, 45 minutes at a time, but that's not what we were doing. It was just enough to kind of give them a little coolness. We did notice that they would reach up to put their noses close to the water spraying out. They seem to enjoy it a lot, especially their ears, because there's a lot of veins and things that are in their ears and exposed. It helps them cool down. So if they could get those wet, then it would feel better. Some of you may already be thinking, now wait a minute, Brian, you putting water misters in there with that solar electrical maybe some problems. Well, we're going to try to avoid those, and I'll show you a couple of ways that we're going to do that. But let's look at what we're putting out first. This is a Home Note brand. I've got a couple of other misters cords, if I want to call it cords, is that tubing, misting tubing from previous years. This just happens to be a new batch that I bought because I had an extra hutch and I wanted to make sure I had enough. So it comes in this little bundle here. It's got some zip ties, also some cable connections, an extra washer for inside of the hose connection right there, and then also apparently a couple of extra misters, I guess, if you lose one or one breaks. So that's that set up. We're also going to put this on the hose, or excuse me, on the water spigot that we've got put out there. It's really just PEX pipe nailed to a tree, but we're going to put this so that I've got one I can use to fill up water with, and then I can shut it off, and the other one will hook up to another hose, but also a timer, and we'll set our timer. This one happens to be a Hardeen brand. In case you don't know, what we've done on water for our rabbitry is that we actually connected into some buried PEX that we've done and just ran this 3/4 along the ground. Initially we did that because there were so many tree roots that were through here. Digging a trench just proved to be nearly, not impossible, but more work than we wanted. So for the couple of months that it really freezes, it's not bad to just haul some water up here. All right, first thing we're gonna do is just take off our current setup here, and we're gonna put on the splitter. Not that you really need this, but on this particular one, it does have an arrow on the side to show you the flow of water. It would make sense to leave it this way so that you could read all of the things. So what I'm going to do at the very beginning is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to set up the misters inside. I'll go ahead and zip tie them to them. Bucky here is very curious about what I'm doing. I want to avoid a couple of things. Obviously, I want to avoid it from spraying straight on to the fan, but also where it's not getting on their food and it's not getting it saturated. So I'm going to try to keep the misters away from the food, but yet in front of the fan. I came back from a little lunch break. I was having a difficult time getting these two sections of the misting. This is an old mister that I bought before, but I was having a hard time getting them to join up. It just wasn't connecting right. So this brand new one that I bought, I laid it out, and it will actually run the entire length of these breeder hutches. And so I think that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna go ahead and take the black one back out again. We'll put this brand new one in because it'll reach all the way across. It actually even has a lot more lead before the first mister, so I like that. I mentioned earlier that this hose is not my favorite. It's gotten several kinks that always seem to bother me at 2:30, 3:30 in the morning when I'm doing morning chores. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use this hose for different purposes around the farm. I'm gonna go ahead and cut it right at that first kink here. It was already a repaired hose that we had used, so I'm gonna take the repair coupling off of here, cut it, put it in here, and then we'll hook it up to our mister. I went ahead and switched the hose because once I got the directions out to figure out how to run this, I realized there is a 5 meter minimum they suggest on the hose, which I did not have. So I went ahead and got this hose. It's got plenty of length, hooked it up so it just doesn't blow out the mister. So let's go ahead and we'll take off the cover here. All right, that's better. So as I was saying, the batteries are located in here. You just simply pull this up and it takes 2 AA's. Slide those back down in there and we're good to go. First thing you want to do is set your frequency. So initially what we're going to do is set the frequency to go off every 30 minutes. And for the run time, I think we're going to do, let's just do 1 minute. So 1 minute every 30 minutes for right now. We should see a blinking light to go ahead and set that, and we did, rapid flashing. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to secure this. Now I'm going to go ahead and test it. So what I'll do is I'll take that back off, but I just want to make sure that it runs. So we're going to go to, anytime you redo the setting, you have to go back to reset on here and off to this. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it to on, and we should, yep, it's going to flow. We're going to make sure that it goes through the misters. All right, it hasn't blown it, so that's good. Now I'm going to walk around and make sure all the misters are working. Well, that was a successful test. I'm happy with that. Still have to get another hose to come out here, but that's not a big deal. I went ahead and reset this, but we put it back to 1 minute every hour. I may find that that's not enough and we do something different, but for right now, we'll set it there. And that's going to do it for today's video. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm happy with the way things turned out. We got all the fans working. We got the misters on the breeding cages. We're going to be fine tuning this over the next month or so. And then maybe at the end of a month, we're like, hey, this just isn't working and we'll take it all down. I don't know yet. If you wouldn't mind, please give us a like. Also share this with a friend that you think might be interested. And if you haven't subscribed, please consider doing that. Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Fuller Homestead.